You're watching White Mountains TV. I'm Chris Prue, and we're joined in studio by Andrew Drummond of Ski the Whites. We're going to talk about backcountry skiing for a little bit. Thanks for coming on, Andrew.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, I recently saw a backcountry film that you produced, and I said, I have to talk to Andrew. I've got to get more insight into the process that goes on behind the scenes. Let's start by talking about Ski the Whites, though. What is Ski the Whites, and why are you making these backcountry films?
Well, Ski the Whites initially started off as just a blog that I could post trip reports, race reports, and Ski the Whites made the most sense. How is that going to drive the most traffic? People looking to ski in the White Mountains, and that's what I call my bread and butter. Although I love to hike and trail run, skiing is my real passion. And eventually, I started to, as I backcountry skied more and more, I realized that there's this opportunity to build a shop out. Initially, that's my basement. But pick all the backcountry items I use regularly, call up all the brands, and get these dealer agreements. And now I've curated this store that I can sell all the gear I use. And so then it's moved from my basement over to a space at Black Mountain. And this weekend is actually the first weekend we're officially open. But the major component of that store is the ski equipment. I see a lot of people out there in the backcountry that probably aren't on the best equipment possible for backcountry skiing. They've pieced together some used gear, some stuff they ordered online, and maybe they haven't been able to try the new modern gear. We're talking about ski boots that weigh under 1 kilogram and skis that are ultra light but durable, modern skins. And maybe there's people that have the gear, have backcountry gear, but have never used this sort of gear. And so
Right.
Everyone's foot's different. All the manufacturers make different skis, so it's really nice to be able to try something before you buy it. And so you can come rent it and then take it up to the slopes. You can try it right at Black Mountain. They'll be open this weekend. Or you can take it up to Tuckerman Ravine, or if you're going on a ski trip, you can go bring it to Iceland. I had someone, I think actually Norway, bring it to Norway last year. Or if you have friends coming into town that don't have ski gear, they can use it. So it's a little bit of everything. That's Ski the Whites in the nutshell. And part of it is media, because it's just basically everything that I do in the wintertime and summertime, and I try to share that.
So your brand is Ski the Whites. I know a lot of backcountry skiers and expert mountaineers will travel the world, but what keeps you in the White Mountains? Why Ski the Whites? Why is this area such a great backcountry destination?
The East Coast in general, I think, is underrepresented in the big picture. If you look at backcountry skiing, especially through the industry's eyes, you only see Colorado or the West Coast or Alaska, or then you go skip over the East Coast and go over to the Alps. And we have incredible skiing right here in our backyard for all abilities. And it scales from novice, entry-level Nordic backcountry skiing to, Tuckerman Ravine and the Presidentials and the White Mountains in general, where you can ski some of the most technical terrain in the world. It's limited, but in general, it can prepare you for skiing anywhere else in the world. And it's one of those things that I just try to showcase because it is so special. There's something about being up in the mountains that I think everyone connects with when they're out there.
Right. Some of the films that I've seen you make really show that off too, because they are so beautiful and they are so just eloquently put together that these films really look like they could have been shot anywhere around the world, some of the most exotic locations, but it's right here in our own backyard. So tell me about the process of putting these films together. Recently you put out a film that looked like as soon as there was any snow on Mount Washington, you went out to find it and ski it. Tell me about the process of putting this film together.
That last video I made, I had that itch that everyone has when you're waiting for snow and what can you do. And a lot of it just involved, I'm going to go out at night or when the light is really nice, or maybe it's not, who knows. It's just getting out there and capturing what you can capture. Yeah. And I have these ideas of things that I'm trying to get, whether it's a time lapse or sunrise or something. And while we might not have had snow, I was still able to get up there into the mountains and still take beautiful photographs, and it's just as enjoyable for me to be out there any time of year. Of course, I'd like to be able to ski down. So as soon as we did get some snow, I made a point to get up there, and you have to hike all the way up, and you can ski about, at this point, there was 600 vertical feet or 500 vertical feet, and you're hiking up or ice climbing up to to get there. And the whole point is to be creative and showcase everything that you can do in the mountains. So incorporating some hiking, some ice climbing, traversing, and then some skiing ultimately, and then hiking out. And I did this over the course of a couple nights tours. You know, these are 2 a.m. leaving my house or getting to the trailhead, and then spending a lot of time getting set up and bringing gear up. But it's all part of the process. It's a lot of fun for me to set up the video shots, and it's part of the workflow where it's second nature. I don't really think of it as extra work. You know, I'm used to carrying around packs and a little extra weight.
They say a good photograph or video in this case is, 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That sounds like the case to me, because every time I see one of these beautiful sunrise shots, or a shot of you skiing a slab from across a little ravine or something like that, I'm like, he had to have climbed up there previously, put up the camera, or started his hike at 2 a.m. to get up there for sunrise.
It's true. It's a little extra weight, a little extra sweat. Fortunately, the ski gear is getting lighter, and that's enabling, and even the ice climbing gear, but it's enabling recreationalists to get out there and to bring extra gear that maybe they couldn't carry before. So I feel like as long as your pack is a certain size, it will be full, and as cameras and electronics get smaller and smaller, we're just gonna put more stuff in our packs, more tripods and other devices. So when I go out, I'm carrying a DSLR, a GoPro, maybe a drone, maybe, it all depends on the day. My iPhone, it's like, just depends on where I am and what my goal is. I'll have a bunch of gear. And
you always have a trusty sidekick. Does Squall ever carry gear up?
No, Squall will not carry gear. He has enough work. I feel bad some of the trips I put him through, but no, it is, you bring that up, having a partner to go out there with. Squall is a great companion, especially hiking, but skiing is tough. It's hard to find partners that are willing to be flexible with these hours and this sort of terrain. So it's usually a compromise. Sometimes I'll be able to meet up with partners for part of projects, but a lot of times I'm out there on my own, on my own schedule.
Right. Now your films are inspiring. It makes you want to try these activities for yourself. Do you have any advice for people who want to get involved in the backcountry? Because watching these films, you can tell obviously you are an experienced mountaineer. You not only know your tools and how to use them, but you know this terrain for being here for so many years. So advice for first-timers who want to get into the backcountry.
Of course, yeah. I think the first thing to do is to find someone that can be a resource, someone you might know that is a skier or knows a friend of a friend, but it's ask questions and get involved into a sport the right way. And that's what I'm trying to provide by, if you're curious about backcountry skiing, I could set you up with the gear and then kind of point you in the right direction of some novice terrain if you've never experienced that. But then you step it up a level and you want to get into the backcountry. That's a little above my skill set, where I'm not a guide, working with someone in that environment where you want to get into the avalanche terrain, that's a whole nother level of training. So we're fortunate in the Valley to have all these guiding services. So that's the next step of someone that wants to adventure out a little more. And then beyond that, now you're working with this new base of experience and knowledge that hopefully you're building, and then you go out on your own. Everyone has their own risk level, risk tolerance, and with little side note here, part of getting introduced into backcountry is just finding the backcountry.
Right.
So people might not know. There's no official map of where to ski. There are some good books out there that have some starting points, but I'm part of Granite Backcountry Alliance as well, and we're trying to increase the skiable terrain below tree line. So that's glading. We're trying to resurrect old ski trails and find new zones, specifically in the White Mountains, and that in its own right is going to provide more options when the terrain up high is dangerous.
So how do people get more involved in Granite Backcountry Alliance?
Yeah, Granite Backcountry Alliance, granitebc.org. We have events year-round, so whether it's summer glading or winter film festivals. So we'll have some more of those coming up in January, I think. So if you go to granitebc.org, there's a whole list on our sidebar of stuff that's happening, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we promote all those events as well. And then just through my shop, come by. I'm going to have events all winter as well, and that's going to be Friday Night Lights. I'm going to do an uphill series, and I think we're still finalizing that at Black Mountain. And I think we're going to do a 6:30 start, but have this floating window where if people want to come, we'll still have lights set up, and there'll be a long course, short course for whatever you're looking to get into. If you want to put in a half-hour effort or an hour effort, I think there'll be a little bit there for everyone. And then also we'll do Thursday morning meetups at the mountain, pre-operational. As soon as it's light out, we'll go do a couple laps. And this is all just to give the backcountry community something to do, because people have been backcountry skiing in the Whites forever, but the community's been pretty fragmented just because there hasn't been this common, organization of it to get people out and together. So
very cool. What's Ski the Whites up to now? Do you have a new film project that you're working on? Seems like that's probably a never-ending project. You're just always filming.
I'm always trying to get inspired too, so I look at what other photographers are doing, other video people, and one of my goals this year is to bring in other filmers and photographers to help me capture what I'm doing and the White Mountains in general. I think there's this creative feedback loop that happens as soon as you start working with more talented people, and then I have certain objectives and things I'm trying to work on. The next level for me is just get better as a mountaineer. Start incorporating more skills that you would use out in the Alps, more rappelling, setting anchors. I continue to work on ice climbing. I'm still pretty inexperienced in a lot of these avenues and a lot of these areas of backcountry, true backcountry mountaineering. So I do have film projects. I think there will be a few coming up shortly. We'll see. Like, it just really depends. I think that's what makes it exciting, is that every storm comes and goes, and it's different, and sometimes it lets you get into new areas. Sometimes you get skunked. Yep. But I think just capturing any of that, there's a story to be told.
All right. Andrew Drummond, Ski the Whites. Follow his progress on skithewhites.com, and you can find him on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, and we're going to keep track.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.